Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining today. Before we introduce today's speaker, Professor Sahana Das, I would like to tell you all a little about the Career Talk series. My name is Shiv Kapoor, and I'm in the 12th grade at Head Start Educational Academy, Bangalore. We, my sister and I, saw the lockdown as a great opportunity to expose students not only in India, but around the world to a spectrum of careers. We hope to do so by bringing professionals from various domains to share their experiences and knowledge with us. Today, we have invited our 13th speaker of the Career Talk series, Professor Sahana Das, who will talk to us today about the field of communication. With a BA Honours and MA in English Literature from Lady Shri Ram College, Lady Shri Ram College in Delhi, and then a MPhil on English Literature from Bombay University, Professor Sahana Das was ready to become a teacher. She is privileged to have taught at amazing colleges like LSR in Delhi, Sophia Degree College and St. Xavier's in Mumbai, and now at Mount Carmel College in Bangalore. She has always enjoyed interacting with the intelligence of those she taught. Professor Sahana Das has lived in Singapore for 7 years, where she explored newer fields, teaching Odyssey professionally, being the editor-in-chief of an art magazine, and working for Singapore TV. These experiences were invaluable when she came back to India and joined Mount Carmel College. Here, she designed and set up the Department of Communication Studies that went on to provide an honors course in communication studies. She is currently pursuing a PhD in film. Before we let Sahana Das take over, here are a couple of housekeeping rules to keep in mind. Kindly keep your microphone and video off throughout the entire session as it may disturb the speaker. Kindly requesting you, please do not annotate on the screens as it will disturb the recording and the speaker. And as moderators, we will ask your questions directly to the speaker. Kindly put your questions in chat. Professor, you may take over from here.
Hello, everyone. Am I visible? Actually,
Yes, Professor.
If it doesn't break too many rules, I wouldn't mind if connectivity allows some of you to keep your videos on. It will be nice to see the faces of those I am talking to. Is that all right? I'm asking the moderator. Would it be okay if some of you keep your videos on?
Sure. Some of you are allowed to keep your videos on. Kindly don't unmute yourselves.
You can keep your audio off, but it'll be lovely if I could see some of your faces so I know who I'm talking to. And it's always easier to talk to people than images. I feel like some voice of God talking. Okay, so I've been asked to talk a little bit to you about a career in communication. I think that it is important that I make the disclaimer that communications is a very, very large field. It seems to be the buzzword today, and people say communication instead of I spoke to somebody or I heard somebody. We communicated seems to be the way. So I want to draw a kind of parameter within which I will be speaking to you. One is that I would like to point out that communications is a very, very large field, and it's a huge range of anything from electronic communication right down to emceeing some staged performance. It's all called communication. So I will specifically talk about verbal communication, where we are using words for communication, either to speak or to write. So we are looking specifically, I am looking specifically at verbal communication and using that for training as well as using it for a career. And there is a lot of scope in that. That itself is a very vast field, only verbal communication. You can also have visual communication, you can have telecommunication. So as I said, communication is a very vast field, starting from people with engineering background to people with liberal arts background. You can have any background to join a field of communication, because really there is no field on earth that does not require communication. Even in these difficult times, I find there's no shortage of jobs and job requests for my students, and kind of makes you remember that communication is such an important, such a vital skill. Um, so having said that I'm going to talk specifically of verbal communication, I also want to tell you that I am speaking specifically of a career in communication. So communication as a profession. I'm not really concerned with how you are talking with your friend or your parents or your teacher, although that's an element of communication too. And you can also be trained in that, something that comes under the general field of, something that is now called soft skills, how to talk, how to win friends. I am personally not concerned with that. I'm looking very specifically about telling you a little bit about the careers that you can have a goal towards, using words for communication purposes, and what could possibly be the course of training, of study that will lead you to it. So broadly speaking, communication could lead to careers. So I'm going to go backwards by first of all trying to identify the kind of jobs that you might aspire to. The most lucrative uh, jobs, other than your own business, would be as an employee, would be corporate communication. Now, corporate communication today is not very well defined. And what I have observed is that different organizations have defined it differently. So some people can define it simply by internal communication, in-house training, or writing memos or emails within an organization. But let me point out that that's a very dated way of thinking, and today hardly anybody defines communication in such narrow terms. So it goes on to doing something called corporate communication, where the professional communicator is expected to look after a lot of the communication that might happen with the outside world. So for example, if you want to write a letter to the client, or you want to organize an event, you want to, let us say, look at how you want to brand yourself, all of this could gently and generally come under the overall title of corporate communication. For example, you might be asked to design a booth at a trade fair. All of that is now part of the corporate communications job. But as these things become more significant, and by that I mean there's more and more money riding on this, they also then become further subdivided into the larger umbrella of corporate communication. You can have something called CSR, which is corporate social responsibility, which very often becomes part of the communicator or the professional communicator's job, because development communication is also part of communication. So you can have a career in development communication that combines with a corporate job, making it a corporate communication job. Similarly, you can have branding. So marketing communication, branding, social media marketing, these become offshoots of corporate communication on the one hand, and management degrees on the other hand. These are all communication requirements. You can also have very specific writing level work, such as, let us say, content development, how to write somebody else's CV, how to write stories, how to write any kind of, let's say, posters, or anything to do with words would also then become part of your job. And as you can imagine, these are all correlated. Everything is interlinked. Keeping this in mind, let me take you through the whole process. One way of reaching out to a career or a job in communication is, first of all, to figure out whether you are really good at it, right? Um, it's glamorous. The job is glamorous from the outside. It's always wonderful to think of, I'm going to name my own students, a Faye D'Souza, or I don't know, all these grand people who have studied communication and today have become youth icons in some ways. And to say, I would like to be like that. How many people apply to me to say, I want to be a Barkha Dutt? Okay, but the thing is, nobody is a Barkha Dutt or a Faye D'Souza just like that. You have to have you, and the only one who can know this is yourself. So you have to check your own self to see how interested am I in the field of communication, which means what have you done? Because I have seen people as young as 8th standard, 9th standard, who have started developing a portfolio. So I'm told that some of you are still in school and will be in school for the next couple of years. So if you feel that communication is something you want to explore, and that communication is something that interests you, you have to push beyond the theoretical idea of being interested. Push yourself to do something about it, to explore what will make you happy, to think of it as a job that in a way defines you. So you can take, for example, photography. So let's say you're interested in photography. You have at least got your mobile phones. See what you can do with framing, so that by the time you are through with your 12th standard and you're ready to enter an undergraduate program, you have what I would call a portfolio. Right? People can make, like you people, I'm sure, are already doing Instagram stories. Is there a purpose to that Instagram story? Can we put all your Instagram little pictures to create a kind of identity that defines you and your concerns? Communication is, I think one of the fundamental things about a career in communication is to have something to communicate. Like you can't communicate if you have nothing to say. So you have to, in some sense, you're all young kids, but I won't patronize you by saying that I think today's kids are very smart, because all kids are smart across ages. But the point is that you also have to learn to understand your own self. What is important to you? And what is it that you want to tell the world? So to be a communicator, you have to have something to communicate. And this is the time that you can experiment and figure out what is it you want to say and how do you want to say it. Do you want to write stories? Do you want to write a poem? Do you want to take photographs? Do you want to make a film? Do you want to do a podcast? The thing is that before you leave school, through your mandatories, you must have a portfolio. This is something, especially if you're anything below 12th standard, this is something I can't push enough. We just had an entrance exam, but I know the difference it made when people applied to us with a portfolio in hand. So it is important that you create a portfolio, and in the process you will also discover for yourself whether you like it or not. You may not like it, then that's the end of it, right? So if you feel that there is something that you want to say, then the training will teach you, will give you the tools of how to say it, right? So the important thing that I feel you should know is to understand your own aptitude. Now, remember that communication is different from language. So you don't have to know English well. I mean, if you're going to communicate in English, then your English skills are important. But you can, apply the same rules if you want to communicate in Kannada or in Hindi or in Urdu. It doesn't matter, right? So the principles are the same, and your language skills is an additional bonus. I will also point out that it is important to learn or train in the country you are going to practice in. Like law, eh, eh, the understanding of your target audience is very, very culturally rooted. So if you train in one country and you're going to practice in another, that won't make sense at all. So it is important to figure out the people you want to communicate with, right? So it is important that you train in the country you're going to think of working in, where your profession will take you. um, you will also have to understand your own aptitude, your own the tool that you like, and then build on that. Then you have to remember that communication can be studied both at an undergraduate level as well as a postgraduate level. Sometimes you belong to a city where there is a good undergraduate program in communication. The programs in communication can come under many nomenclature. In our college, we call it communication studies. We also have a department of journalism that is very specific to journalism, whereas communication studies is wider and takes into account more than journalism. Journalism is an aspect of communication. Um, you can call it visual communication, you can call it communicative English, you can call it functional English. So as I said, there are many nomenclatures under which the basic area of communication is offered, and you can research this. There are many reviews, there are many, you talk to your seniors, you get a sense of whether a program is good and worthy, and you can then enter the general field of communication at an undergraduate level. You can also use communications as a training in the postgraduate level. In fact, in our generation, communications used to be a postgraduate subject. But today, people are beginning earlier and earlier. You even have, I think, CBSE. I'm assuming there are some CBSE board people here. CBSE even has a paper called Communicative English, right? Which is basically teaching you how to use language for the purpose of communication. I feel that it hasn't really taught you communication, because it will teach you how to write a letter and how to write an email, but it will not teach you when to write a letter and when to write the email. And communication is also about understanding that. It is about understanding when to use which tool. That's understanding communication. But the thing is, you can approach it the undergrad level or at a postgrad level. There are very reputed colleges at the postgraduate level also that takes people in from multiple fields. So the thing is that, like I have said before, communication is also about having something to communicate. Now, you can have a social issue that you want to communicate, environment, maybe some sort of, um, some social sensitivity that allows you to feel for a group that doesn't speak for each other. It could be animals, it could be the very poor, it could be the voice, and you feel that I would like to communicate on their behalf. This is good enough. You can also take an approach to say, I really like economics. So I'd like to study economics so that I can use economics as a tool for communication. So I want to do economics as a form of journalism. So I want to specialize in economics. I want to specialize in, let us say, information technology. I want to specialize in sports. I want to specialize in any field that I study in. So you can take up a subject in your undergraduate program that energizes you, a source field that is required for communication. So you have an entire field called science communication. It's very, very lucrative. And by lucrative, I don't only mean money-wise, but in terms of opportunity and need-wise. The market requires it, right? So it could be something as simple as just interviewing a scientist or making a report on some discovery, but it could also require things like writing for a pharmaceutical company, or writing for a high-tech company. Let's say you are talking about covering the Chandrayaan, right? This will require a certain knowledge of science before you can write a report. So science journalism or science communication becomes extremely vital, and very few people can do it. So let's say you have a particular love of science, but you don't see yourself employed as a scientist, or that's not the world you want to do, but you love studying it. So you can take science at an undergraduate level, and then do postgraduate in communication later. That's also a path that's very, very valid. You can take any subject that interests you um, in the undergraduate level, and then move on to a specialized program at the postgraduate level. Having said that, my personal feel is that communication is an interdisciplinary subject. So my personal favorite would be, if you were to take communications only at a postgraduate level, then I would suggest strongly the field of liberal arts, because the field of humanities and liberal arts is an interdisciplinary field. You know, you cannot do one without doing the other. I was trained in I had an honors degree in English literature, but to study literature without history, without philosophy, without psychology, you know, without economics, without sociology, it was an impossible situation. There was no question of doing literature without any of these related fields. So I feel that a liberal arts program is by definition an interdisciplinary one, and this wide base of knowledge is very, very important for a communicator. So if you are not going to if you're not going to enter communication, a good program in communications at the undergraduate program, at the undergraduate level, then to take up a liberal arts program at the undergraduate level is a very good way of entering the postgrad level of training for communication skills. So you have all of this, and then you can do communications. The kind of professions that you will feed into could be anything. So let me try to list some of the common ones. One large field is media. Now, media could be traditional media, the mother of all media, print. Um, there are many of my students who have joined the print media who feel that newspapers is a dying field and it's moving to the digital media. So people are not reading news as newspapers, but they're reading it either through on your screens, either through a sort of an online version of the news, or through feeds in social media like an Instagram, or even Facebook, or other forms of social media. That is the way the newspaper is going. So you're basically learning to write very differently, not for the print but for the screen. Then you have the field of radio. Now radio is generally in India national owned, government owned, but there are private FM radios that is privately owned. But the problem is, as of today, they are not allowed to report news. So, but that's only a matter of time. I feel it is a growing field. It's a powerful tool of communication and it has great reach. So there is that. And of course, the related field digitally of podcasts and, you know, what is that called, anything that uses an iCloud, all of that. It's a new and emergent technology that requires the idea of radio and its digital equivalent. That is important. Then you have television and film, which are becoming merged more and more. It used to be very separate industries, but when you think about writing for film versus writing for a mini series, they seem to be less and less different, and they are in some sense merging. So there's that. And then of course you have advertising, which I think is a dated field. It I notice that fewer and fewer people are getting employed from advertising. So those of you who find advertising creative and fun, I would strongly recommend that you look at branding and marketing communication instead, which is a very strong field. So this is for media. And then of course you have the non-traditional media. It's called new media for some reason. It's hardly new anymore. And that is the entire world of digital writing. It started off with computer and computer screen, but now has moved to telephone more and more. And the thing is that the aspect ratio of a telephone screen is very different from the aspect ratio of a computer. So you write differently, you design differently, and that training is part of training how to write and how to be an effective communicator for media. Then, of course, you have the non-media professionals for communication, such as development communication. Earlier on, development communication used to be very strongly about NGOs, but that is no longer true. you have development now, or people who are trained in development communication move very often to areas like like CSR. I've mentioned that before, to look at the corporate social responsibilities of corporate institutions. That's mandated by law. So there's that. Then you have journalism that focuses very deeply on development communication. There are entire field of funding of film for development. So you have documentaries, you have news segments that come from a development angle. Now, development itself is a is a perspective that you have to be trained in, so that when you look at development as a theory, you understand that, then you implement it either through your writing or through your filming abilities, etc. Then you have this whole idea of creative writing, that is what you're doing with your words. So apart from writing journalistic reports for the shifting various alternatives, you are also looking at creating narratives or stories that would also shift from writing for print or writing for radio, like a radio play versus a TV serial versus a short feature, long feature, where you understand how to make a film and then script for it, right? And there's a huge dearth of screenplay writers, both for theater as well as for film. And it's a growing field, is what I feel. There is a growing need for this, and growing industry willing to make it profitable. And that's important. I believe very strongly in financial independence of my students, and I would not recommend you to get into something that is defined by charity or sponsorships. You have to be financially viable to be able to stand on your feet, and that's very important. I think as a teacher, I would be not doing my job if my students were not independent. It's important, and financial independence is a very vital part of that independence. Okay, so you have also the entire field of marketing, communication, and branding. That's a growing field. It's a very, very vital field, and it should not be confused with advertising, which is a completely distinct field. So advertising, to my mind, is becoming dated. um, Only consumer advertising happens even today. It's actually a very small world. The large field of large field of communication or advertising that used to be is also industrial advertising or service advertising or public interest advertising, like polio drops or don't have more than 2 children or whatever. These are also advertising. But the problem with advertising, I feel, is that it's a very vulnerable world. So whenever the industry is down or the economy is down, the first budget to be cut is advertising, right? But nobody can afford to cut branding. Like, you cannot afford to have your clients forget you. So communication for marketing purposes is an ongoing process, and that is not advertising. And I would strongly suggest that that's where you should put your energies if this field of marketing and communication, and in some sense advertising, interests you. So social media and branding, this is where the growth is, and that's what I would recommend. That apart, there is also the entire field of training. So communication has always been our weak link. The problem is that there is a, I mean, I know I can see some parents here, and I'm a parent myself, and I say that we are very focused on a skill based understanding of education, which I think is a huge mistake. It kind of forces people to think of marks, and it also makes everybody very narrowly utilitarian to say, why am I studying this? So that I can get that. So everything is not quantitative, so you can't say 2 plus 2 is always 4. The interesting thing about creative field is that it can be anything. It can be 4, it can be 22, it can be 5. Like, what was that wonderful book said, what is the answer to the ultimate question? And apparently the answer is 42. Like that, a creative field has really no boundaries, and it takes a long time to get there, right? So if somebody is creative, um, it is important for people to understand that that's okay. Now, in terms of what will that bring to the industry, I would like to put this thought into especially parents' head, that we parents can only anticipate what our children's future is in terms of what we know. But this world is changing very, very rapidly. We don't know what it will be 5 years later, 10 years later, when our children will be ready to meet the professional world, when they will have to earn a livelihood. That world is going to be unpredictable by people like us. But the one thing that we can predict is that there will be more and more automation. Like we are talking about artificial intelligence, and more you will find that things will get mechanized, right? Um, Computers and various applications of computers like robots or whatever will be able to do the mechanical side of what we are doing, right? Calculatable things, quantitative things will be replaced by computers. But as of today, the one thing that the computers cannot replace is creativity, right? So you will find that tomorrow the the school young adults that I'm talking to today will be masters of their own head. So careers that are towards creativity, and it could be something as surprising as music or dance or theater, storytelling, writing a novel, writing poetry, and other fields of creativity that we can't even imagine today. Our generation cannot even imagine it, is going to be the norm for this lot. So, if some of you are thinking that we need a label for our children to say he's a lawyer or a doctor or a engineer, I feel is a little limited. Now, if a child has a interest in being a doctor and a lawyer, by all means, but it is interesting to see what they are going to do. I mean, I don't have to point out to IIT engineers who are now stand-up comedians, or doctors who are writing stories about mythology, right? You know who I'm talking about. Biswa is an IIT engineer, and Devdutt Patnaik is a doctor. So I'm saying that you never know what is it that they will ultimately do. So if the kid is interested in something and they do it, they'll do it well. And the point is that if their job can be substituted by a robot, the chances are it will be substituted by a robot. That's the trend of this world. So you are going to find that the interesting thing about communication is that it is always going to be creative. That's the nature of the job. It needs to be creative. It needs to rise up to understanding and analyzing the change in society, which is very, very rapid, and you need a human brain to catch it. The other day, I was signing into something, and the computer prompted me, "I am not a robot," and I was really tempted to look into the mirror to check whether indeed I am not a robot, because it's hard to say. We follow so many rules that, like Sheldon, maybe we are all robots. Who the hell can tell? But the important thing here is that, first of all, we need to know ourselves. It's very quick to say, I'd like a career in media, I'd like to be a communicator, because it's a creative field and all creative things are interesting. But the creative things are also drudgery, because the moment you make it a profession, it is not, like I say to many of my students, it's not enough to be clever. You have to be relevant, right? So that relevance is a matter of training. It's a hard course, that allows you to take what is being taught to you and also add on to what the world has to offer you. Today, there is a glut of information, isn't it? Anybody can enter any grand, lecture. You can hear anybody speak about anything. And the point is that the student is no longer a passive, um, devotee to the teacher who will take the superior position to say, I know everything. Because the student is also Googling you. The student is also checking whether your sentences can be found somewhere else. This is a challenge. And the thing is that many teachers have to actually reinvent themselves to meet that challenge. right? In fact, I have to make sure that I don't bring anything into the classroom that has already been said by somebody else, because I have really, really intelligent students, and they keep me on my toes. So the point here is that all these information still will not tell you who you are until you are very honestly able to look within yourself and see what your aptitude is. Because I know that many people come to our course out of some kick, and then they are shocked at the amount of work they have to do, and then they find that they are dropping out, right? So that's a waste of time. So ensure that what you choose, and if you choose communications, good for you, but choose it for the right reason. Okay, I'm open for questions now.
Okay, so we'll go straight to the questions then.
Yes.
What exposure do you suggest students in high school get when they are considering a job in communication?
Oh, I don't think I understood, because nobody is going for a job from school, right? There is that
Okay, so
called
so
college in.
when so in high school you still have options to pick one field over the other, right? So what exposure would you suggest people get in order to see whether they like it or not?
So I feel that as of today, the schools are in some sense very boxed. So, you are allowed to take only those subjects that the school offers. But the good thing for communication, people interested in communication, is that it doesn't matter. Like, you can take whatever you like. Like, we are five faculty members in my department, not counting guest faculty. Of the five of us, there are three people with a science background and two with an arts background. It doesn't matter. Everybody needs communication. So what I suggest is that in school, you take the subject that interests you. Like, the obvious connection would be with liberal arts, but I personally feel that science teaches you how to write precisely, and it's important not to waste words. Communication is not about big words, right? So the ability to write precisely is a very science, very quantitative approach to things, which can be very interesting and useful too. So take the subject that energizes you. But the important thing to remember is that your discovery of your interest and aptitude for communication specifically is not going to come from what the school has boxed you to believe. You have to step out of it and do a little bit of exploration on your own. For example, you might be interested in the performing arts. So go see some theater, go see, study the masters. So see good cinema, see good serials, see good theater, and don't, I would say, maybe this is the middle-aged me talking, but don't waste your time with TikTok. To try to understand what the masters have done, and from that get the inspiration, right? Until you find who you are. So you may like an Anurag Kashyap, but is your film going to be Anurag Kashyap? It could very well be I don't know, some Dilip Dhawan kind of a film also, no? It's okay. I mean, the point is to be part of a field that is important. So you say that you're interested in sports, but how many sports have you seen? So when you say I like cricket, okay, so you like cricket, how much do you know about cricket? So enter a world fully. So I had a student once who said, I like Formula 1. I said, okay, then perhaps you can look towards sports journalism. No, no, ma'am, I only like Formula One. So I kind of said, don't you think that's too niche? And lo and behold, she's one of the most well known writers for Formula One. And she's married to a Formula One racer. Uh, Vaishali Dinakaran, you can look her up. She's a very respected writer for uh, Formula One. So, when you have decided that you like something, go in depth and don't give up on your passion. That will be in addition to what your school is teaching you. So it's that exposure. You can't sit passively on somebody else to show you what your life is. If you feel passionate about something, find a way to expose yourself to it. That's important. I mean, the school has their job cut out. I mean, if they didn't teach you right, your marks would fall down and your teachers would jump at your principal's throat. That's just how it is. So if you are interested in something, ensure that you follow up your interest. Don't give up on that. At least that's what I think.
Okay, moving on to our next question. How
Yes.
interconnected are careers in PR and communication?
Okay, they are very connected, of course. You can end up in a career in PR. I didn't mention it before. So the thing here is that PR is generally connected with journalism in the past. So people have studied journalism and done it have had some experience of it. And I think the logic has been that a lot of PR is meant to reach everybody via newspapers. So, for example, if there has been a disaster, then you counter that disaster by giving a press conference. So the PR seems to have just turned its affiliation. So while a journalist will write a report on it, the PR will talk to the journalist to give the report from the producer's side of it. So in that sense, it's connected. However, print is becoming progressively marginalized as a medium of communication. So PR now has become extended to somebody who understands multiple media or multiple channels of communication. So let us say when Cadbury's, I don't, you're all too young to remember this, maybe you were not even born then, but there was a time when couple of chocolates of Cadbury's was found to have worms in it, right? And it was a disaster because people suddenly decided that they couldn't buy into a huge PR exercise. Now that's a fact. But the point is that if you're looking at it as communication, how much they have to understand their target audience and how they package that communication. So you know what? Quickly safe to eat. This is a huge PR decision. Now you cannot do this without communication. So PR in the to be from the field of psychology and then from the field of journalism. But today it is from the field of communication. Does that answer your question?
No, I think it does quite wholly. We'll move to the next question then. How important is getting exposure to public speaking?
Okay. Of course, it is very important because communication is also about the ability to speak. But at this point, I'd like to set out a little bit of a warning. And it's this: gift of the gab is going to fool some of the people some of the time. Make no mistake about it. You have to have conviction. And when you have conviction and experience and knowledge, the public speaking abilities will flow. You know, I can talk like this about communication because I have spent so many years teaching it, thinking about it, designing the course. But if you ask me to talk about, I don't know, Chandrayaan, I absolutely will be in, mumbling and jumbling because I know nothing about it. So public speaking, I think, is mistakenly associated with the gift of the gab. How well can I speak? And it's really annoying after some time, you know. So I feel that public speaking without something to speak about is a useless exercise. You need to, like, I know you have, school and college competitions in who can speak louder and who can be browbeat somebody, who will insult somebody, you know. That's not the point of communication. Remember that sometimes likability will get you what you want. So effective communication skills might lie in not speaking. So I know that I sometimes have people who come and say, my daughter is very quiet. Can you please make her speak a bit more? And I always say, no, but why? Her nature is to be quiet. Let her be quiet. It's okay. The point is to get what you want. That's communication, right? And not get it for yourself, but on behalf of the institution. So by defeating somebody in a debate, about it. Right? So I don't think that public speaking should be seen separate from your knowledge base, from your purpose, from your objective, from the whole point of communication. So public speaking is not always an effective tool. It is sometimes, but it very often isn't. Anything else?
How important is debating?
Public speaking and debating in some sense are one and the same. See, you don't have to distort your personality. that is very, very important. It is important to be credible. So if you are intrinsically a quieter person, if you're an introspective person, you don't have to distort yourself to be a good communicator. Every personality has a validity. So you have to choose a field that utilizes who you are, and one that you will feel affiliation for. So debating skills and public speaking skills are just surface. What is important is that you should have something to speak about, and as you build your experience, as you build your knowledge base, you'll find that the articulation is coming in place, by itself. Yeah.
Most students are inclined to create casual posts on social media. How can one create a professional portfolio, and can you share some examples?
So that's training, no? That's the training. So how, just by the vocabulary you have used, which is that, these are just random social, what is the word she has used or he has used? What is that? Casual, right? You called it a
Casual and
casual.
professional portfolios, yeah.
Casual versus professional. Now, this is the judgment you have placed, right? So the fact that this is casual, you are already able to tell the difference. Now, the question here is, how do you get to that professional? That is why you need training. I can't give you an example sitting in, for a 1 hour or a half an hour chat. This is where training comes in, because the professional post is not about it looking good. It also has to tell a story. So if you are an artist, then your professional post will reflect you as an artist. If you are a technical person or you're a chartered accountant, then your post will reflect who you are. So it's also about branding. So it's not only about the words you use, but why you use those words, right? So this is what training is, and it takes a very long time. Make no mistake about it.
So you did mention that in order to get into communication, you should take the liberal arts stream. But if you were to suggest a few subjects, which ones would you suggest a student in ninth grade takes?
So may I just kind of remind you that I did not say liberal arts. I actually said take anything you like. I just wanted to make a case for liberal arts also, because many parents tend to feel that you take arts if you're not good at it. One of those to be a or not to be a kind of questions. I know that when I took up English honors, my parents' neighbors were very shocked, and they said, oh, but I thought she was good in studies. So there is this slight, what shall I say, a sort of looking down on arts as a subject. And it's for that reason I said that liberal arts, or any subject in liberal arts, lends itself to communication very easily at the undergraduate level. But the point here is that it doesn't matter what you study. You can take up a career in communication through doing a postgraduate training in communication. If you can do postgraduate, an undergraduate course also. But the point here is that no matter what subject you learn, you can use that as a takeoff point for communication, because everything needs communication. So whether you do economics or you do English or you do physics or you do commerce, it doesn't matter. You can use that as your leg up for communication. Communication is like management. It's an umbrella term, and you can do it through any subject. So I have really no suggestion to give. The only suggestion I give is take something that interests you. Don't take something because somebody else told you to do it. That's very sad. It's a waste of time. So whether it's 2 years of doing science that you hate, I've had students who've come to me with tears in their eyes saying that I hate science, and my parents think that journalism is a waste of time. I want to prove them wrong. And she's gone on to becoming one of the top writers there is. So the point here is that you have to do what motivates you, that you're passionate about. I know this is oft repeated, and very often the challenge is you don't know what moves you, or you don't know what you're passionate about, and how do you know what is real and what is just aspirational? Like, are you trying to be Shah Rukh Khan, or is there anything real in it? this is the discovery you make. So sometimes you just accept life for what it is till you find that point. Sometimes you have to live a lifetime to figure out what your passion is. I've always felt very interested in children who say, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because a person who says, I want to get X, and only that, I know what I want, then what happens when they don't get that X? Does their life change? Does their life end there? It's a pity to know what you want so early in life. It's a good thing to be a little confused. So you're going on searching. And in the process of searching, you're learning, you're discovering, you're living. So I actually like it that you don't know what you want. Next.
So the next question is regarding something you have covered before, but a lot of people have asked the same question. So I'm just going to ask it again. Um, what can you comment on the scope in content creation, advertising, and marketing?
Okay. Content creation is a field by itself, because content creation, um, so today content creation generally means content creation in the digital world. So you're looking at content creation specific to either a website or a social media. You can have jobs like social media marketing that looks after social media content only. This is not to do with design, it is not to do with the technology, but to just keep somebody's Instagram alive or somebody's Twitter feed alive. And so many companies will actually employ content writers to do this. In fact, a lot of my students are freelance writers for content, and this is extremely lucrative and in a way freeing, because it also allows you a lot of time to do other kinds of writing that you might want. So that's content writing, and it's actually quite distinct from advertising. All right, so let's not mix the two. Content by itself. All right. Now, in terms of advertising and branding, did you say? I'm sorry, Shiv, could you just repeat that for me a little? What is it?
It is content creation, advertising, and marketing.
Okay. So content creation, like I said, is a separate field. It may or may not have anything to do with marketing. All right. In fact, the marketing communicator will take the decision of what the branding is. Then the content writer would find the words that match the branding decision. All right. So, for example, would you say, oh, this place is really cool versus this place is very beautiful and serene? Might describe the same place, but to do different target audience, right? So, that decision of what is the brand will be taken at the branding level. That is the marketing communicator's job. All right, to decide what the branding is, and the content person will then decide what the words are to fit in, right? So for example, the classic example is the difference between the branding of Coca-Cola and the branding of Pepsi. So Pepsi is always young, slightly irreverent, um, slightly all over the place, whereas Coke is a lot more stable, steady, forever. And although the products taste almost alike, their branding and has positioned it very, very differently. So you find that there are older people who are drinking Coke, and young, irreverent rule breakers are drinking Pepsi. This is a very deliberate thing. So the language that will come to build this brand is the job of the content person. But remember that content writers are not only writing advertising, they're writing a whole lot of things. So as I said, you have to see the two as separate. Now, is branding and advertising the same? No, again, branding is a decision making. It is to do with marketing communication. It is an MBA's job. Whereas advertising is very specific. Remember that in the field of marketing, advertising is one of the various ways in which you can market something. Like you can have events, you can have promotions, you can have direct marketing. So there are many ways in which you may market, all of which will require communication. And advertising is only one such. And like I keep reiterating, it is a dying field. Anything else?
Yeah, our next question is regarding some colleges that are good for communication, mass communication, both in India and abroad. Could you name a few?
Okay, let me just address this learning abroad business. Okay, I have to first give you the disclaimer that what I'm going to tell you is entirely my view. All right, so please apologies if this contradicts what you believe or what your parents believe. It's this, that I feel that studying abroad for communications is a mistake. And here is why. You have to study in the field, in the place that you will be employed in. I've said this before, that there's no point in learning communication techniques that apply to the European market and then be employed in India. And the fact is that you will be employed in India. Law prevents you from being employed in a country that you're not born in. A typical education abroad will cost you approximately about close to 1 crore. If you include travel and all the peripherals, so you're talking about budgeting for about close to 1 crore. That is, now imagine that you invest half that to put up a studio in your own place. What is the economic turnaround? Right? So I'm thinking that even in terms of the investment, go take a holiday abroad and then come and practice here. I actually don't think it much use to study abroad. I have seen some of my students who have gone to do postgraduate abroad, and they have come back and started at par with people who have done their just their graduation here. It just That's just ground reality that I have seen. So if you come from a very wealthy background, you want to give yourself a holiday, then go abroad by all means. But the point here is that it is not a economically justifiable reason. Of course, I'm saying this when my own son has gone abroad, but make sure that what you're studying there is not available here. That's the only reason. And so far in the field of communication, the only thing that I feel is worth it is creative writing. We don't have a proper course of creative writing in India that I have seen, at least. So it makes sense if you want to study creative writing and its peripherals like scripting for theater, scripting for film, creative writing, novels, poetry, that which is called a BFA, a Bachelor in Fine Arts for creative writing. That is the only course that it makes sense to study abroad for. Otherwise, I don't think it makes sense. But like I said, this is my opinion. Within India, see, I don't want to speak about it. It will be unethical because I am teaching in a college that obviously has been designed by me, so I believe it. And I think that we do very well. We have a very transparent method of entering because we like to keep our classes small because you can't do a creative program at a mass scale. This is not a factory. I like to nurture every individual for what they are, so our classes are really, really small. And so because of that, there's a huge demand. So we have typically about 10 to 12 applicants per seat. So because of that, we have an entrance exam only, but that's for our class, for our college. There are other colleges. There's Christ College, there is Joseph's, there's Jyoti Nivas. All of them have some form of entrance exam also because it's a much in demand subject. Each one deals with it differently. I don't want to comment on it, obviously, for ethical reasons. For postgraduate, I think that you have a choice of either doing a degree or a diploma. I think there are some diploma courses that are very specific and very, very good and has great industry recognition. For example, ACJ, that is Asian College of Journalism, based out of Chennai, that has great potential. So they have print, which is like the most difficult to get in, and then you have electronic, and then you have broadcast media. So these are good places, and you can go there. St. Xavier's College of Communication, XIC as it is called, has a series of diploma courses of varying reputation, but I think their biggest value is their industry connect because of the city they are in. So that great guest faculty and connect make sure that they get a job. So that's very good too. I also really, really like MICA. That's Its entrance exam is very difficult. It's through CAT. It's a postgraduate program. It's called Mudra Institute of Communication and Advertising. They have a 1-year course as well as a 2-year course. They're both very good, and it gives you an MBA degree, so it's always a good thing. So postgraduate level, there are a couple of places that I have recommended to my students, depending on what exactly they want, because there are also development communication people who go to TIS, which is, I still think, is very, very good. There are film schools, the Satyajit Ray Film School in Calcutta and Kolkata, and of course the Pune Film Institute. These are iconic. There are also smaller, quicker, courses in film. It's okay. I don't think it's great. Film is another thing that I generally recommend people to go abroad at a postgrad level, because just that training, I don't know. I think it's still better abroad. But yeah, you have to discover and find out. But see, what happens in many of these places is that it's a shifting faculty. So if you're lucky to catch a set that is teaching you well, then you're great. Then the next year that faculty might change, then it becomes really terrible. So I don't know, it's a hard field. Technical fields in filmmaking or television, these are hard films. You need a lot of patience and very deep pockets to get there. It's very satisfying, no doubt. It's great fun, and people do make a decent living doing documentary film, and more importantly corporate films and tech films, and almost everything has become film now. Even instruction manuals have become videos now, and there is a growing need for filmmakers, but everybody secretly wants to make a feature film, and that takes a very long time. Especially for women, I feel that editing is a better option than camera, which even today isn't really available. Script writing is it's a field that is not filled, but people keep saying, I wish there were more script writers, but it's very difficult to find somebody willing to read your script, correctly. So it's a hard world. It's a hard world. Corporate is the easy way. Technical writing, easy way. Very easy, very high paid, and very easy. And I'm sorry to say, a little bit boring.
Okay, so moving on to our next question then.
Yes.
What is the required preparation and planning required for the entrance for mass communication undergrad?
You'll have to figure out which college you're targeting and speak to them. But speaking specifically of Mount Carmel College, I think it's very important for me and my colleagues to not make it a stressful experience. So we are not expecting this to be treated like some IIT entrance exam. And I'm sorry that we have more people than seats, but always to keep in mind that we are always looking for bright people. I mean, it's not just that they want us, we also want them. So what we are looking for is, it's more like an aptitude test than something that you have to prepare for. So you prepare for it through 8th grade, I think. So you read the newspaper, you should know the political scenario, you have to know the world that you're living in. You should feel some interest in that. You must be interested in media, you're joining communication, so please see lots of films, and please keep track of all the social media stuff that you're I generally told not to waste your time on, but you have to look at it, and if you look at it critically, you must know your basics, so try and listen to the radio sometimes, must read the newspaper, must see news channels, must read. We are very, very particular about English skills. We don't take people who make grammar mistakes, because it's not that it can't be corrected, but we have to look at a basic minimum that we're looking for. So we assume English skills as a given. I have to tell you that we don't care at all what your marks are, but we are like that. We have no cutoff marks. You have to pass your 12th standard, and I really don't care whether you got 96% or 42. I don't care, but you have to pass our exams. So it has happened in the past that we have rejected people who have got 96 and taken somebody who has a 65. It happens, because the point is not about beating the system. I make it a point not to give model question papers ever. So we make sure that our entrance exam question paper doesn't reach the public. And every year it's different. So if you're looking at our college, then there is no preparation. Just prepare for it from now. It's an aptitude test. No stress. It's the easiest paper on earth. I'll ask you things like who's the president of the country? And it's surprising how many people don't know that. So then clearly means that you are not suited for this. It's really as simple as that. Like I said, discover to yourself whether you really want to do the world, enter the world of communication, because it's like an ocean. And remember, I'm talking only of verbal communication, words. There's the field of design, there's a field of computer application for media, all of that, electronics, right? I'm not even talking about that, but you have to feel like it. See, when I sit down to edit a film, I don't care what time it is. My students don't sleep for like 24 hours continuously. And then their eyes are shining and say, ma'am, it's ready. And you're looking at that frame and you're cutting and you're not satisfied till you get that. There's a high. And if you don't feel that and if you say, what is this going on forever, then it's not for you, right? So you have to decide whether you want to do it. There is a lot of excitement. Like I feel that my department is filled with very happy, completely mad people. I have to shoo them off and say, go home, enough, go home. We are there till 11, 12 in the night working because we like it. But equally, I have to warn you, there's massive dropouts because there are people who will say, I can't deal with this. What is this? I don't have a life. That's how it is. So you have to check what you like.
So our next question is, does a degree in mass communication cover the future career aspects in journalism and advertising?
Sure. Why not? The thing is that my observation is that there are more jobs in communication than there are qualified people today. There are not that many colleges that offer that course, although it's growing. So what happens is that if you have a skill for writing and if you have a skill for languages and you feel that you're creative, you can learn on the job. So a lot of professionals you might meet in the broad area that can be defined broadly as communication may not have a degree in communication at all. But if you have a degree in communication, it assumes that you've been trained in it. And that training will always be handy. So, for example, when people come to recruit in our college, our girls can claim a higher salary because they claim to have specific knowledge of this. So, there is that advantage. I also would suggest, this is just an advice to you boys and girls. Don't be so fixated on what aspect of communication is going to be your career. Because as you understand it, so many people come to us to say, I want to do advertising or I want to do film. And then they discover this great love for research or the great love for development or for culture studies that they never imagined, right? So communication is so vast that you never know what your profession is going to be finally, right? So don't have too closed a mind as to what you want to do. If the general field of communication interests you, then enter it with an open mind, because communication also is changing every day. The fields are opening every day. I have students who have started bakeries, artisanal bakeries. So they do their own marketing and their own design, their own social media marketing, and they feel that the work they did with us was invaluable to run a bakery. You see, so you never know what life will have in front of you, and communication is going to help you no matter what. Okay, so don't say, will it help me with advertising? Yes, it will. But then if advertising is your field, you can do anything and then do advertising, as many people do. you know that's my opinion.
So our last question is, do you see a stark difference between the number of boys and the number of girls who apply and get in or in your class?
Well, I don't have any boys in my class. I did have a boy who came to me once and said, ma'am, I think I'll go through a sex change so I can come here. So that's the nearest I've ever had. I also have girls who wish they were boys. So there's that. I think your generation knows better than anybody else that what is boy, what is girl. It's all fluid. Ours is an all girls college. So I can see only girls. But in terms of this field, um, I told you that there are fewer trained people than there are jobs. So I don't see any problem with being a girl or a boy. There is no special preference, at least as far as my observation goes. It's pretty gender neutral, except in the field of camera, where girls do have a disadvantage simply because the film camera is so heavy. But as cameras are becoming lighter, and as we're moving to digital camera as a legitimate form of filming, even that is kind of going away. But the film world, like especially feature film world, I'm talking Bollywood, is very it's a sexist world, and my students have had very, very poor experiences there. And some of them, typical Bangalore elegant quiet people tend to run away from there, which is a pity, because they're very talented. It's a loss to them, I think. But it is the only field where I feel that women still have to fight. But if you look at urban spaces like Bangalore or even Delhi, which is more sexist, one would think, but not really, it's pretty neutral. So I've had students who have worked across various fields, from Amazon to what is now called urban something. It used to be called urban clap before. Remember? Now I think it's called something else, urban something. Um, Urban Connect or whatever. So these are all startups or established companies. We've even had people who have joined Goldman Sachs, all as communicators. And the thing is that nobody has come back to me to say it's hard being a girl there. You know, it's okay. It's pretty gender neutral. In terms of studying, I feel places like Joseph's would have more boys and fewer girls. The thing is that when there is a Mount Carmel or Jyoti Nivas, why would a girl go anywhere else? I mean, our college was the first one to have this course. So naturally, if you're a girl, you'd prefer to come to Mount. Oh, or so I say.
Okay, so with that, I think we should conclude our session today. We don't have any more questions, fortunately.
Thank
And
you. I would have loved
our
to see some
apologies.
people's faces, please. Can I see who I've been talking to? I just see one face other than you, Shiv. I think Shweta Kapoor. That's the only face I see. Please, can I see your faces so I know who I've been talking to, even if your parents? And apologies if I have said something that contradicted what you believed or thought.
So on,
Hello, this is, I can't read who this is. Lady in red. I can see her.
Ma'am,
okay, so
I'm just going to take the liberty and tell you that this has been an extremely brilliant session. You make me want to go back and take up to communication studies. And I'm not saying this because you're on camera, but we've attended a lot of sessions, and I just have to compliment with the way you feel so passionate about your students. Thank you very much.
I do. I love being I love my students very much.
It just shows you make us want to go back to studying.
How lovely. Thank you.
Thank you
But
very
I
much
would
for
love to see all the others. There's some Anusha and a Mridula and a Mrinalini. What lovely names. But where are your faces? Please, can I see your faces before you say bye to me? Thank you.
okay,
Sahana ma'am,
so
thank you so much for the lovely session with Jia.
Thank you. I enjoyed being here. Thank you, Shiv, for moderating.
so
Thank you.
just have to do the formal side of things. Thank you, Professor. We thoroughly enjoyed it, and I have a few people messaging me saying we need another session with you. And to our viewers, thank you all for joining in today. Just a quick reminder, next Sunday we have a talk with Sahil Bhargava on finance. Thank you guys. Thank you, Professor. Good night.
Bye. Good night. Please write to me if you need any further, or visit us in college when we can actually visit. See you. Bye. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Professor. Thanks so much. Good night to you.
Good night. Good night.